You're saying these models are twice as likely to answer a question correctly. What do we mean by that?
So first of all, Ed, thank you so much for having me on the program today. We are very excited to be announcing this new model family of Claude 3. And really, when you say, twice as likely to answer, correctly, what that means is how high or how likely is it that one of these models will sort of make something up? And so in addition to making these kind of intelligence advances really across all three models, we've also been working on many of the common challenges that businesses and in particular enterprises face when integrating generative AI into their businesses and workflows.
One computer scientist reached out to me and said, I've never used Claude, but I'm impressed by the testing scores, but also impressed by the fact that it's available straight away. And I also note that Amazon AWS came out very quick to say, go to Bedrock, you can use it right now. Bedrock's been a real success for you guys in commercializing the underlying models. Just explain the rollout and how you're able to do this immediately.
So what's being offered today, so you mentioned those three models in the family. So Claude 3 Opus is really our most powerful state-of-the-art model. Claude 3 Sonnet is that middle model that is still incredibly capable and quite price competitive, particularly for its intelligence class, and very fast. And then Claude 3 Haiku is the kind of fastest model, really, really great for sort of any type of use case that requires a quick response. And so today, what's available in our API is Claude Opus and Claude Sonnet, so the bigger two models. Claude 3 Haiku will be rolled out in the coming weeks. And then on AWS Bedrock, you can access Claude Sonnet, that middle model today. And also on GCP Vertex in private preview, you can also access Claude Sonnet. And I'd be remiss to not mention Claude AI, our consumer product. You can access Claude Sonnet for free, and Claude Opus is available for our pro users as well.
Daniela, what's been interesting about the focus that you've had at Anthropic is on the commercial use, is on the business case use. And I'm interested, Opus is relatively expensive compared to some of the competitors out there. What your client base drawn to? Is it still the focus on safety, which was first and foremost, or what else are you winning them on over the competition?
So really the kind of reasoning behind why we did this model family was we wanted to give enterprise businesses as much choice as possible to really be able to toggle between what is the most important kind of element for their business, or even, in particular for their use cases. We anticipate some of our customers may use, multiple models just for different applications. So, Claude 3 Opus is really a great choice if you need the kind of most powerful state-of-the-art model for very complex reasoning. And I also, should say, so much of our enterprise kind of strategy has been around building these models and making them increasingly more intelligent and fast, but really also ensuring that throughout we are prioritizing reliability and trustworthiness. So many of the businesses that we build on, that build on Claude, really require a deep amount of trust with the customers that they're ultimately building for. And that's really been kind of a guiding factor for us as we have been training these models for our customers.
And that goes straight to the heart of some of the difficulties that have consumed your competitors and just general adoption of AI within the landscape from a regulatory perspective and a consumer use point. I think of, the image generation part of the equation right now. We all look to what's happening with Gemini and the fact that they tried to alleviate the bias issues and in so doing ended up with ahistorical images. Talk us through some of the ways in which you get over the hurdles of trying to put safety first, of trying to put bias first, but trying to get these ultimately incredibly powerful models into people's hands quickly.
So one of the things that we have always really focused on from day one is this question around safety and trustworthiness and reliability. And while it's the case that no model available on the market today is perfect, Anthropic has always really aimed to be the industry leader when it comes to safety. We use a technique called constitutional AI, which helps to provide all of our models, including the Claude 3 model family, with this sort of constitution for how to approach, challenging questions, right? Introducing a sort of layer of nuance into how the models might respond to difficult prompts.
Daniela, you and many of your co-founders at Anthropic previously worked at OpenAI. Elon Musk has sued OpenAI and is saying basically they're breaching their original contracts because they are no longer a not-for-profit and they are not following that original mission of benefiting humanity through their work. Your reaction to that, given your history at OpenAI, but also the work you're doing now at Anthropic, which has a similar not-for-profit setup?
So something that we've always aimed to do as a public benefit corporation at Anthropic is really, balance the kind of incredible potential power of these technologies while still ensuring that what we're developing is reliable and safe. And really our kind of founding vision, right, our founding mission for the company was let's work to really raise the watermark in the industry of AI and ensure that whenever we put a model on the market, Anthropic wants to feel very confident that it is as safe as it can be. And I think what has been so exciting, about this model release is really raising that watermark, not just on safety, but also on intelligence and capability simultaneously. And I think that guiding light has always been an incredibly sort of important founding principle for us.
Caroline mentioned it, and you and I have talked about it, that you're pursuing a focus on enterprise customers, SaaS, cloud companies, but you still have this public benefit corp center. Just explain how you manage both of those goals.
So something that I think is really interesting that we've seen with so many of the enterprise businesses that are really building on top of Claude is that this approach to building systems that are safe and kind of built on trust and are secure and are reliable is actually a huge draw for them, right? So many of the Fortune 500 are driven really by trust with their consumers, right? And so I think something we take incredibly seriously is this belief that when we are helping to empower businesses to build on Claude, that what we're putting in front of them is safe. And I think that's perfectly in line with our public benefit mission.
Are you ultimately improving people's lives? Do you still feel, Daniela, you as a company, but as an industry more broadly?
So something we've been really kind of excited and inspired to see are just the incredible potential and kind of use cases that our customers are using while interacting with Claude. So this ranges from things like, financial services, businesses like, Bridgewater and SAP, SK Telecom, really just transforming how they work and how they interact with their end customers. But, most recently, I think I've been incredibly excited to see so many, education, healthcare, and nonprofit businesses as well really start to take on kind of the mantle of generative AI. We've been very excited that groups like the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute are building on Claude.
So too is Asana, Airtable, Bridgewater, some really notable names in the finance space and in productivity space. And I'm interested that at the time that clearly from an enterprise perspective, everyone's rushing to get in and clearly productivity can go up and to the right to a significant amount. But we do question perhaps some worries around jobs, but we also question ultimately OpenAI versus closed AI. And we go back a little bit to the drama that's unfolding between Elon Musk and OpenAI, and I know you must be relatively exhausted by that. But I look at what Vinod Khosla, for example, has been tweeting about, saying that ultimately Sam, Greg, and the team over at OpenAI have been pushing out faster, better products, and they need to be in a more closed space. OpenAI and ultimately artificial intelligence innovation shouldn't be done permanently in some sort of open test way and means of doing it. Do you agree? What is your ethos on open versus closed, Daniela?
I think really bottom line is that there's so much space in the kind of generative AI industry, right? There are many different types of models that are being rolled out across really a variety of different services. And my sense is that as businesses, really are becoming quite sophisticated with how they integrate these generative AI technologies, I expect that what we'll see is really a kind of multi-model approach, that many businesses might choose to rely on one type of model for certain use cases and other types of models for others. So I feel there's really quite a lot of sort of space and territory for all of these different players to kind of operate in the space.